Welcome, college basketball fans, to the Full Court Press Podcast with LT and Sammy D. This is the podcast that brings you legendary stories from college basketball's golden era and dives in deep with a current analysis of today's game. Get ready for the most energetic and entertaining college basketball podcast around. Let's get it.
Hello and welcome to another Full Court Press podcast. I got my guy Sammy D. We got another good one, actually a really good one. We've got oh man, I don't know. This is gonna be a really good show. But don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and all those other great handles. And if you love us, you like us, give us a 5-star review. And big thing is just share with your friends and subscribe. But also, too, College Basketball Weekly is out. And that's been doing really well. So follow that show on all the handles and stuff like that. So I don't know where to begin. We could talk politics. We can talk religion. We could talk NIL. We could talk transfer portal. We could talk coaching lifestyle. We can talk college basketball landscape. We got Coach Phil Martelli, the great Phil Martelli, join us on the Full Court Press. Coach, welcome to the press.
I really appreciate this. This is one I was really looking forward to. And the hook was when you told me that you had Fran Dunphy and Frank Martin recently, and I was like, I fall somewhere in between those two.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll decide that one.
I appreciate all you're doing for the game, because look, let's call it the way it is. Everybody is head in hands and wringing our hands and, oh my God, the game. And obviously there's disappointment throughout the profession with Tony Bennett last week. But I've had occasion over the weekend to talk to some of my close friends in this, and I'll say to them, it doesn't change at 3:30. When you walk out on that court, you have a bunch of guys that want to play this game and want to be coached. And if you can just for that moment in time, that 2 hours, or the 4 hours that you're watching tape, or, pick all of the joy that we all have from this game, focus on that. Let's stay away from like, oh, it's awful. Okay, it's different. It's challenging. But tell me that it hasn't always been challenging to win, to create a great program. So, I'm excited. I'm excited about the season about to start here. It seems like it never ends now, but that's for another conversation.
That's episode 2.
Yeah, but this is the game is great because of the people like you who impact this game. So thank you for what you've done.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it.
And where do we go from there?
We should just end it now. Take the compliment.
My life has forever changed.
No, but I mean, we do appreciate that, Coach, and yeah, I mean, Luke and I are just big fans of college basketball. We think it's the greatest sport in the world, and and it's based on when we were growing up, and when we were playing in college and things like that, where it's just. There's no helmets on the court. Like, it's like you see these players, face to face, and you see how they interact with coaches. You see how they interact with the communities. And I mean, for us, it's just an honor to have you on the show. You're a legend. You're an icon. DNA is just in your family, with your 2 sons coaching right now. And as well as your wife Judy, Naismith Hall of Famer with her teams, and
better basketball player we hear, best basketball player in the family.
Yeah. So I mean, when you talk about what
she's certainly best looking in the family. I'll go that way.
Maybe she'll say the same thing. We don't know, but it's I mean, I guess since you still are. Actively involved in the game, and I mean, you even mentioned kind of off air, your son Phil Jr. at Bryant, and you've got another son, Jimmy, at Penn State. I mean, what are things that they're having to deal with, that, young coaches weren't prepared for based on what's happened the last 4 or 5 years? And how do you see some of these kind of younger coaches manage those situations?
Well, I that's a really interesting question because it's where I think this game is going. We're going to the ultimate haves, and then not the have nots, but they not have.
Mhm.
So in Philip's case at Bryant, it's not having to deal with pay for play. Call it what it is. He doesn't have a salary cap. He's not negotiating deals. He's actively working the transfer portal and creating teams as opposed to building a program. But at his level, you can still stick with that idea of build a program. Jimmy's situation at Penn State, he works for a great guy in a great athletic department. So, yes, they're aware. There are negotiations. Now, as an assistant coach, he does not want to enter into that world. So he's still out there building relationships in recruiting, building relationships with the players that they have, and then very optimistically attacking the challenges that come with being in the Big Ten. Philip's situation is different. I have great admiration for both of them, the way that they're handling it, and I'm only available when they want to ask like bigger picture. I'm not an X and O guy. I don't want to sit there and say, Philip, you need to really improve your ball screen defense. And with Jimmy's situation being in the Big Ten, we can have conversations about, man, Iowa's fast break transition. Obviously, you have to address it. I can't tell you how to address it because I'm not there every day. But they come from it two different ways. And if I beg them, and I always do, to focus on the relationships, because to me, you guys made a point earlier. This is a great, great, great game. It is the best societal experiment because it does not discriminate. Doesn't care if you're black or white. Doesn't care if you're from the inner city of Philadelphia or if you're from the farmlands in Iowa. It doesn't matter. You can go find a game, and if you're willing to dribble, pass, and shoot, share the game, share the responsibility, you can have a great experience. That's what I want for both of them. I want them to have a great experience when they can come away with a tremendous trove of relationships.
Yeah. I mean, it really is you hit the nail on the head because once that ball goes up, or even when you get in the gym, it does not discriminate, rich or poor, black or white, like you said. And I think that's why it's one of the reasons I've always loved it. I mean, it doesn't matter good or bad. The ball goes up and you just play, right? But I think this has been the longest off season. I mean, I know in coaching there is no off season, but I think for the media, the fan, even the players, and even the coaches to a certain extent, all this noise, like once that ball goes up in a week or two, all this kind of disappears, right? A lot of it just disappears. Like I am sick of hearing or seeing on Twitter who won scrimmages. Like,
oh, come on. Yes.
I mean, listen, I coach now. I didn't coach I did coach basketball and camps and stuff. I did coach Division I tennis. Like, if you have an exhibition, you're going to try different things. Maybe your better players don't play as much. Maybe and people are saying, oh, they're going to have a great year because they beat St. Joe's by 2 in a scrimmage. Like,
so I agree with you, but as a fan, it's like you don't even. I think the fans are so hungry to see what their team is going to look like because it's so new every year with the transfer portal and different moving pieces.
The only part is that the fan bases that go this way when they lose a secret scrimmage. So I have a fledgling podcast. It's called Make a Difference.
Hey, us too. We got something in common.
Yeah. So we started last week's show with the idea of this. Let me talk about the game a little bit. So I talked about Tony Bennett and what a gentleman, and it is disappointing that if all of this other stuff gets on your shoulders and wears you down, that's a shame. And we need to get some parameters here. We need to get the game of basketball. The college game is better if Jay Wright is coaching. The college game is better if Tony Bennett is coaching. No disrespect to who takes their spot. It's no disrespect to the young guys who are up and coming, but you're talking about certainly a Hall of Famer and then a borderline Hall of Famer. They're national champions. That was the opening. The second part was this. Let's applaud the NCAA allowing charity exhibition games. So that you can see. That's a 40-minute game. But don't put too much into the result. Please don't put too much into the result. Let's applaud the fact that we're giving back in our game to the less fortunate, people that need it. Anthony Grant, mental health, Rhode Island and UConn, Coaches versus Cancer, and on and on and on, right? Michigan and Oakland yesterday for a food bank. Yes. Okay. Now flip over. Secret scrimmages. So forever, you weren't allowed to acknowledge that you were playing them. Right. 2, you were not allowed to acknowledge who won or lost. Okay. Now you can release your box score. But the perfect point, Luke, who played? How much did they play? How was the game refereed? Did we shoot foul shots, or did we shoot at a lot of places? Shoot one and it's a 2-point, right? Right. Maybe we'll create a situation. Okay, your ball again. So two stories. Last year, without Juwan Howard, he was out because of his surgery. We went to Marquette, and it was reported. We beat Marquette at Michigan 115 to 112. Did anybody ask whether we played 40 minutes or 60 minutes? Played 60 minutes. And we didn't shoot foul shots. So the number of emails that came into the office of Michigan, we're not a good defensive team. What? How would you know? That's story 1. Story 2. And this is way before you guys were even in the game. But 20 years ago, I had the best team in America. We beat Gonzaga in a Coaches versus Cancer game, Madison Square Garden. We went into the season 15th. They were ranked 9th. Tremendous game. It actually is probably the game that solidified that Jameer Nelson would be the National Player of the Year. That one night. The following Monday, we scrimmaged, and I'm not even sure what their name was then, but Philadelphia Textile, Philadelphia University, right? Herb McGee, Hall of Famer. We scrimmaged them. We went down to the very last play, and we ended up winning the scrimmage. If you can win a scrimmage, I don't know how you can.
No, you can't.
Or you can do whatever you want. We went down to the very last play. Now, Herb McGee is a great coach, great friend. He marked it down on his career resume as he beat us that night. Who cares? It doesn't. I just wish. I think the charity exhibition is kind of where we will end up going with the idea of almost morphing into an NBA preseason.
Yeah.
But these secret scrimmages and people riding them up and down and again, somebody needs to be first. I have to report this first. I don't get it.
Well, I saw one yesterday. I tried to watch one on TV, and I'm like, I can't. I miss college basketball that much, but I just can't. It's totally different atmosphere. So there was one that came across Twitter yesterday, and I saw the score. So I texted the coach, and just to see, he's like, it's actually nice playing. He didn't talk about win or lose. He said it was really nice competing against another team.
That's what they all say. Everybody says it.
you know. I think I even said, so you're going to win the national championship, and I didn't say that, but I was thinking that. But so let me ask you, you brought up Michigan, okay? And Sam knows my wife went to Michigan. I'm a big Michigan fan, big Juwan Howard fan too. We're also, Sam and I are both big Anthony Hardaway fans. All right. You see these guys that were legends at the school they played in, they had long, healthy NBA careers. I mean, even Hall of Fame players. How difficult is it for them to coach at their alma mater? I mean, you saw it. I mean, the media's tougher on them, I feel like. I mean, Sam and I were talking about Anthony Hardaway. People are like, yo, he's going to get fired. He was 22-10 last year.
I think you start with, I flip it to the positive. Their love of school, and I've been around Penny when he talks about Memphis and the area, right? So he's iconic, not just at the school, but the city of Memphis. Like he's on the Mount Rushmore. Juwan Howard's love of Michigan blew me away. Right? I'm sharing with you guys. So he was let go, if you want to be kind, right?
Yep.
I guarantee you that he'll go back for a football game this year. I never saw anybody, I never saw a fan in any sport be as engaged as he was in football at Michigan. I do think that that's an added, not burden, but it's another weight on these guys because it is their school. They really, it's a very passionate pursuit and not just a job. So I think you go across the board. I mean, you talk about high profile, but right in the city of Philadelphia, Aaron McKee. No one wanted to give back to Temple for what he got. And that's what I think. I think they feel very, very, very protective, very, very, very proud of what they received. Like, I can't tell you the number of times that Juwan Howard would talk about being a graduate at the University of Michigan, what that meant to him. That meant as much as the world championships that he won with Miami. That meant as much as the Final Four appearances with the Fab Five. And because of that extra weight, just viewing it, I think they thread that needle of trying to be perfect. And in this game, you can't. And in this profession, you can't be perfect. It doesn't exist. Exceptional, extraordinary, that's along the path to perfect. But when these guys take on that burden, I think it can be a wear on them. I really do.
Yeah, you can definitely see that, and you feel for them. I mean, at least we do. I mean, I get it. We understand it. So you brought up your sons, all right? One's at a Power 5, Power 4. Your other son's in the mid-major. We have a lot of mid-majors, I don't even want to say low major. We have a lot of mid-majors.
We love American East too. We've had Coach Becker on the show a couple times. Like, we're big American East fans. We think that they're highly underrated conference.
Yeah. So you were recently named part of the NIT tournament committee, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you coached at a high major. I mean, St. Joe's is a high major. It's not mid-major. It's not Power 4, Power 5, but it is a high major, at least in our eyes and a lot of other people's. The NIT, the changes they made last year affected programs like your sons at Bryant. Do you see, because, if you don't win your conference regular season, we've saw this, with Norfolk State, Toledo. I mean, there's multiple schools. With your background in history and even your family bloodlines, do you see the NIT maybe going back to what it used to be, where you're rewarding mid-major teams for having success throughout the year, not just one weekend?
I think it's an ever evolving situation. I don't know enough. I haven't had, in fact, I just scribbled down. I think it's this week. Let me just check my calendar. We have an NIT call on the 23rd, which is on Wednesday.
All right, we'll be there.
So I don't know where that came from last year, because it seemed to be dropped on everybody right around this time.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's going. I think the other thing, because you guys are so in tune with the world that we're in, if this Fox tournament comes off where they pay to the NIT collectives and they're going to take X number of teams, what's the NIT? How did they respond? My prayer is that it never go away. Like, we can't just say it's a victim of today's world that we're not going to do an NIT. But I don't have an answer. I do have empathy for those teams that really think about it. It's they were number one in their league over 12 weeks, over 16 weeks, over 4 months. And one thing happens, and I cannot imagine the angst that goes into being the number one seed in a one bid league. I don't. Now, I like some of the formatting. You guys brought up the America East. There's a game and then but how about these guys that go and they say, okay, in 3 days, over this 3-day period, you're either going to have a really great year, or you're collecting your uniforms.
Yeah.
Man, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah.
And if to be honest with you, you haven't asked me, but I'm going to bring it up. If I had a way of being like the czar of basketball, I would ask all of our leagues to look at that. Why do we, at the most important time of the year for teams and programs, why do we play back-to-back games? You don't do that all year. If you go to a multi-team event, it actually should prepare you to do that at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But these are the most important games of the year, and we're asking them to go back-to-back. I would change that. I do like the format where they go and you get big arenas, but America East, they play, they take a day off or 2 days off and play again. You know, and you get benefit from having a great year by being a home team.
Right. Well, and I think also too, I mean, you look at the NIT, I think there's a lot of like just stuff on hold, right? Whether it's NIL, whether it's a transfer portal, NIT, the NCAA Tournament Expansion. There's obviously talks, and it's going to expand, right? I mean, it is going to expand. No question. And Sam brought up a point last season about going to 128, and I was totally against it. But the more I think about it, and who brought this up recently, we just talked to him. Who brought it? I mean, it makes sense. You're adding one more game, right? You're adding one more game to the whole slate. But now teams like your son, if your son is a really good regular season, he's the regular season champion. Now he gets a bid to the tournament, and now you can satisfy the SEC and all the the Big Ten, and they can get their 10, 12 teams. But now the American East could get 2 or 3. The MAC can get 3 or 4. The A10 could get 6.
It was Billy Donlin at Clemson who was talking about it. And I mean, it's the high majors and power conference are always going to get their teams in, but what's always made college basketball special is the upset stories. And we are seeing a lot more of that in mid-major basketball, especially non-conference play in the beginning of the year. And I think a lot of it is because of you get a lot of these 4th, 5th year guys who may have played 6-7 minutes at a power conference who now go to a mid-major to get their 30 minutes their last year playing, and they've got a chip on their shoulder, and then they're knocking off these top 25 teams from the SEC and Big 12. And that's what you want to see at the end of the season as well, as much as possible. But it's I mean, it's an interesting world that, like, with college basketball right now, just because there's just so I don't think there's ever been, you've been doing this for several decades, Coach, but there's never been so much change in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, but Sam, just coach, just wait a second. But you talk about the upsets, okay? There was a ton of upsets last
I think there's
non-conference
going to be. I know you don't think there's going to be as
There's
many.
going to be less because here's the problem. But the way that
just as many.
I don't think so. The way the NCAA tournament favors is quad 1 and quad 4 wins. And quad 1 and quad 4 competition. The problem is a lot of these mid majors and high mid majors are quad 2 and quad 3s.
So they're not just going to beat many non-conference games.
Well, that's year. Right. And that too, because a lot of these conferences are expanding an extra couple games. So, I just don't think there's going to be as many upsets. And also too, a lot of these A10 schools are not getting opportunities to play these Power 4 schools because it's not going to favor them in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we can go either way. It's I'm not going to get into religion, but they're basketball gods out there, and they're gonna give the basketball fans what they want to see, regardless of all the mixture that's going on out there.
Coach, you got anything to add on that one?
Man, got my brain in overdrive with 128. I'll go back that far in the conversation. Expansion is coming. How and who does it favor? I think sometimes it depends on who I'm talking to when I listen to their ideas. I think that if you're wanting to read what they call the smoke signals, if you want to read the smoke signals, pay attention to what comes out of the SEC. The commissioner in the SEC, his hand is on the pulse of all that's going on. So when he talks about how to expand, and I think a lot of it, how to schedule, because if you pay attention to the scheduling that's going on, you're starting to see a lot. And I'm just using these as examples. I'm just saying. All of a sudden, you will get Northwestern playing Mississippi State, and you'll think, why? What? I think you're seeing more of that scheduling, Power 4 to Power 4, and to me, it is what it is. Like I used to. It would grate me a little bit if I would hear somebody saying, "Oh, we can't get this game or we can't get that game," or it just is what it is. If you call and you make an offer, hey, we would like to play you. We would like it to be a home and home. And it got progressively tougher to be able to do that. So to see these schedules now, I do scratch my head because it seems like we're getting what you would call equal scheduling, or we're getting scheduling down. So the Power 4 will play quad 4 teams before they'll play another quad 2 or 3 team.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I look at your son Philip's program at Bryant, and I mean, he's got, Earl Timberlake, who's could be, I mean, player of the year in the conference. He's got Rafael Pinzone, who was putting up like 25 to 30 points a game his last 10 games of the season last year. I mean, if I'm a high major power program, I don't want to play those guys early in the season. It's like I can imagine how hard it must be for Coach Philip,
because you guys are you're basketball nuts, and I appreciate that. We ought to play up this fact. Earl Timberlake and Hunter Dickinson played on the same high school team. And here they are on their I told Hunter the other day, I said, Hunt, you're going to go right from Kansas to Social Security. I've never seen anything like this. And Earl was in the same front court for the great Mike Jones, who's now the coach at Old Dominion. So that was quite a treat to see them and see them playing AAU, and now to see Earl connected with Philip. I often ask Philip, and I ask Jimmy the same question: how are the guys that you're with? And when they say to me, these are guys I like having over my house, I think, yeah, that's what. Let's keep that. Let's keep that purity.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think within the confines of a program, I don't think for a lot of these programs that believe in culture, and it's very difficult. It's not hard to build, but it takes a little bit more time and you don't have as much time. But I think you said Frank Martin earlier. I mean, there's a perfect example. He's going to recruit kids and young men that fit his system and that he wants to be around. And, there's a lot of programs that doesn't work like that. There's just so much pressure. There's so much money that some of these bigger programs just can't, hey, it's all right. I'll take him. He's good. I don't know if I like him or not. I don't know if I want him on my house, but I got to win, and I got to win quickly.
Great point.
Yeah, but I mean, culture is not going to change. I mean, the relationships and bonds, I mean, they're going to win over everything else in the long run. And like, I think a stat that's going to be really interesting to see the next couple of years as the transfer portal rules and regulations play out is how many players left a program and then came back to that program the following year or 2 years later. We're seeing so much of that this year where it's like, okay, the coach recruited them out of high school. Maybe they're a 3-star, 4-star recruit. They played for the program as a freshman, and then they got offered money for NIL at a different program. They went to that program. They didn't like it. They weren't getting their minutes. The culture wasn't the same. We're hearing these stories from coaches that, player XYZ called me back after his sophomore year and said, Coach, the grass wasn't greener over here. Is there a spot for me next year to come back? We're seeing so much of it this year, and I think after a couple of years of this whole transfer portal thing, it's going to be interesting to see how much of that is happening. And it's because the coaches who do believe in those relationships, they want the best things for those players. And, they're still keeping in contact with the players, even after they've left the program, keeping in contact with the families and the parents and all that stuff.
I do think that we should give ourselves in this game, we should give ourselves some grace, some breathe a little bit. Because, and I hate this, but we're still not done COVID. Like, how much of society, like how many years can we go through society here and say, well, that's because of COVID, or the economy is because of COVID, or this election is because of COVID. Okay, this is it for college basketball. Those additional years are over, and we can move on, make a really valid point about the portal works both ways now, right? Like yes, good players at a non-power can move up, but also those kids who want, for the love of basketball, love of championship pursuits, they can go down. So it does go both ways. I'm just gonna throw this out there to you. So, Luke, I'm going to recruit you. You ready? I come in and visit with you. And I say to you, would you like to pursue your college degree?
No. I want to play basketball.
Here's my point.
Yeah.
Every kid's going to answer yes, or his family's going to answer yes.
Yep.
I didn't say get a college degree. I said pursue a college degree. Right? Whatever period of time that takes. Would you like to improve in the game of basketball?
Yep.
Because if you're a top 30 kid, then go for your 1-year apprenticeship and then go to the league. So we're recruiting you for a reason to develop. Would you like to be around like-minded players?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to pursue championships? So all of those take a level of trust. You have to trust that I can do that. My program can do that for you. Okay? I need you to take one more step in trusting me. If I can get you $5, I'm giving you $5. I'm not giving you $4.95 and giving a nickel to the next guy. You're going to get what I can get you. Do you trust that that could happen? Most people are going to say yes to that. Okay, now I have to flip it. What's most important to you? And if most important to you is $100,000, $30,000, $60,000, whatever the figure is, then this isn't built on trust.
Right.
This is built on transaction. I want to believe in my heart of hearts that we can build programs on trust, and we can get, may not be 15 guys, like let's not, right? We have now 15 scholarships in Division I, but we can get 7 or 8 guys and we can build this thing. I believe that. It could be Pollyanna. It could be all the silly things that you can think of. And it could be easy to sit in your den and say, oh, this is a really good idea, rather than sitting in your office at Bryant or Penn State or Ann Arbor or whatever. But if we can just let this thing settle a little bit and then get back to the game itself, not the transactions, that would be a good world for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree.
Well
And hopefully
Very
it
well
goes
said.
that way. Yeah. Yep.
So,
Sam, you want to start
Luke,
him
you
off?
think he's ready? A little
Yeah,
shot
let's
clock
do it.
action here.
Yeah,
So,
let's do
Coach
it.
Martelli, we do a little thing called the shot clock. Luke's going to fire off like 5 or 6 questions. Some of them should be pretty easy. Some of them might lead to a short little story, or some of them might be a little funny. But Luke, I'm going to turn it over to you. See if Coach is ready here.
Okay. So we'll start soft and easy for once. I won't be sarcastic. One word to describe St. Joe's.
Passionate.
Okay. One word to describe the 2003-2004 season.
Perfect.
Okay. I mean, it was, especially in the regular season, it was. Top 3 most animated coaches on the sidelines that you ever coached against. Give me the 3. I know one that you're going to say.
Cal. Cal finished first, second, and third on this one?
No, because I know there's a guy named Frank Martin that should be up there.
He's pretty animated, yeah.
Cal, Bruiser, Flint.
Oh, good one.
Oh,
so everybody at UMass.
Yeah, it was just in my head. Oh my goodness. How am I missing this? All right, I'm going to go real old school for you guys. You're not going to get it, but somebody out there get this. Speedy Mars, who went on to coach at LaSalle, as a high school coach, you've never seen anything like it. At Roman Catholic High School. One story. The gym at Roman Catholic High School is on the 4th floor of the school. Speedy was so animated one day, he took off his sport coat. When coaches used to dress like executives, he took off his sport coat and threw it out the door over the fire escape down 4 floors. They found it in the school playground at the bottom of the like what do they call that fire escape.
Oh my goodness.
Danny Hurley's got nothing on Speedy Mars.
Ooh.
Yeah. Roman Catholic High School. Before his legendary days at LaSalle. That's great.
That's awesome. Okay. Toughest recruiting win for you?
Other than my wife?
All right. The second toughest recruiting win.
Ooh. Wow. Wow. It's easy to say Jameer Nelson because of what transpired after. And my greatest fear with Jameer was if John Chaney got interested at Temple, he was going to be able to go in and talk. I'm trying to talk to the parents. John Chaney was going to be able to go in and connect somehow or another with the grandfather's brother who went to the same church or shopped at the same stores and I thought, I'm going to get blown out of the water here with John. But that's Delonte West.
Ooh.
Delonte West, because he was somewhat under-recruited, but he never played his cards. I had no idea where we stood. I just kept banging and banging and banging on the fact that I thought he was would be an extraordinary player.
Yeah, and he definitely was. All right. One arena or one head coach you hated facing?
Well, the arena's easy. I hated going into a place where the other guy had really good players. They're the toughest places to play. When the other guy has good, it doesn't matter to me. Like, like people would say, "Oh my God, it's impossible." No. Most intimidating noise though was at Kansas. We went there to open the season in 2004, 2005. So after the greatest team, we went there. We were invited to tip off the season at Kansas, and we were starting at least 2 freshmen. Our best player, Pat Carroll, was out with a shoulder injury. We were in the deep end of the pool with not being able to swim at that point. And I just thought the noise there, that was really intimidating. And then coach, there was really a challenge, Bob McKillop, because of his offensive concepts. And I prided myself on scouting and being prepared, not over-prepared, but being prepared. But his concepts, it was impossible to really prepare your team, even for their out-of-bounds plays, because they were so conceptual.
Yeah.
That was a real challenge.
Okay. What is your spirit animal?
My spirit animal?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to tell you this. You're looking at a person who's I'm not scared of dogs. I'm petrified of dogs. I'm saying I am petrified of dogs. When I was in college and I was walking from where we lived to the classrooms, I knew which houses had dogs. I would walk down the street, cross the street, even though the dog would be in an enclosed fence area. Cross it, go up the street. If that house had one, cross the street. I am petrified of dogs. So it can't be that, Mike. That's obviously not it. I've never had a pet. Although my father had a pet after I was gone. My father had a blind poodle, believe it or not. He had a blind poodle. God, if I had an animal that I think is like probably
They called the poodle Lucky.
Oh God, what was the name of that? I can't remember. Only, like my father called his poodle Only. Why? Because it's the only blind poodle that he knew.
Oh my God.
All right.
So we've taken dogs out of the equation.
I would feel with a spirit animal, a goldfish, because it doesn't come out and it does the same thing day after day. Sometimes coaching, that's what you're doing.
There you
You're
go.
just swimming and swimming.
Couldn't you have just answered it with goldfish about 5 minutes ago?
I couldn't give you. I have to give you the backstory. Is not
No, the backstory is great. We have had a lot of coaches go directly to like dog breeds and stuff like that. So I'm glad we canceled that one out.
God,
that's
only
great.
sound like just a great companion.
That's so good.
All right, funniest recruiting story. Just give us one. One sticks out.
Um, well, funny, but because of the way it ended up, but panicked funny was Ron Roberts, who played for us, won a championship in the Atlantic 10 with us. I recruited the heck out of him, and he committed to St. John's. And he wanted to go to St. John's because it always had been his dream to play in Madison Square Garden. And I said, well, you could have told me that 5 months ago, and I could have just moved on. But he signed to play for, oh gosh, who was the St. John's coach before Norm Roberts?
Oh, Mike Jarvis
Signed to play for Mike, and then Norm got the job, and they released him. And I went to Ron's house. I was all excited. And I went, and they didn't answer the door. I got there in plenty of time. I was sitting outside their house in Jersey City, and I knocked on the door, nothing. So I went back to the car, and then I went back in, and I knocked on the door, nothing. I went back to the car, went back in, and now I'm calling the office in a panic because it was all on me. I set it up. I knew I had it. And eventually I look up at the window, and his father was like staring out the curtain. And I went up to the door and said, Big Ron, he said, oh, I'm sorry. We were taking our nap, our afternoon nap. You can come in now. I went in the house. The kid still stayed in bed and was in his nap. And then eventually came out and we got him. And that was unnerving. But when I got in, I was driving home, I thought, you know what? That goes in the book. That's
pretty good. Yeah.
All these funny things go in the book. The other one that was really Jameer Nelson lived in a row home, Curlin Street in Chester, PA. I went in. He had already committed. So I went in to do this, here's the school, here's the this, here's the that. And I went in and I sat in a chair. My back was to the door. And we were getting ready to start. And people started to come in. Like, I'm not talking about one person or three people or his high school coach or the staff. I'm talking to you that there might have been as many as 50 or 60 people in this home visit. And they were bringing in trays of food that were beyond belief. Okay. They were bringing in food beyond belief. And I kept looking, and then they sit down, teacher student ratios and graduation rates and all this other stuff. And the father said, all right, look, I said, any questions? And there goes, yeah, where's his first game? I said, his first game's in Nashville in a tournament. We play 3 times that weekend in Nashville. The father got up and went around to each person. So there's 50 people in this house. He goes around to each person. Are you going to the game? Are you going to the game? You going to the game? He collects 26 yeses. We would like to go to the game, and turns to me and says, Coach, can we get the tickets? And I'm like, well, is this when I tell them that you get 4 comps per game? And I was like, 20. Yeah, I got that. No problem. We'll take care of it.
Coach, that's awesome, man. That's a great story. We really appreciate it. Sam, you want to finish him off?
Yeah, Coach Martelli, we really do appreciate having a legend and an icon of the game and such a great ambassador of college basketball join us today. So we appreciate that. I mean, I'm going to turn it over to you the last minute of the episode. You're Naismith Coach of the Year, AP Coach of the Year, NABC Guardian of the Game for your leadership, American Cancer Society Circle of Honor. The list goes on and on, right? What are you most proud of, when it comes to kind of the legacy that you're leaving with this game?
My memories and my relationships. When I talk to players, guys I coached in high school at Bishop Kenrick High School, when I talk to coaches who I've interacted with, players that I've interacted with. What I'm proudest of is that without hesitation, they will end conversations and I'll end conversations with them saying, I love you. And to have two men be able to say that and comfortably say it, that means the most. Not the wins, not the trophies, not the, not being introduced as the winningest coach in St. Joe's history. And then I always correct somebody and say, yes, but I'm also the losingest coach in St. Joe history because I coached the most games in St. Joe history. The fact that, and I just have names flashing through my head, kids that I recruited who got back in touch and they'll finish a conversation with, I love you. The game has served me well because of that. So I hope that I've done the same for the profession and the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you are highly regarded, at least in our eyes and many others, for what you have done for the game and you continue to do for the game. I mean, to have a career almost, 20 plus years at one school, I don't think that's going to ever really happen ever again. So, Coach, we really appreciate it. You're going to stick on for one more second till we upload. We really appreciate, Coach, just the stories, the laughs, and only the blind dog. So we'll always have the blind poodle. So, Coach, I really appreciate it. Sam, that was awesome. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Also, check out College Basketball Weekly. And hopefully, Coach will join us again on the Full Court Press. And we'll see you next time on the Press. A college basketball experience still.
Let's get it.